CeloViews on air, bringing you a really, really, really special guest, family member, someone that I've known for years now. I think we go back for like more than 10 years. And she's married to my cousin,
Yeah.
Alma Molina. Alma de Molina, no?
No, Alma Molina Reyes.
Reyes. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't let me forget that last name, the
Yeah,
other
yeah.
one, because
My dad would get mad.
and you too, because I feel like
Yeah,
we
because
have to cherish that last name. It's like special. You don't want to get rid of it.
Me. Yeah, it's part of me, and it actually it's helped me, like kind of, give myself that kind of that I need as a Spanish teacher. I'm not just Señora Molina. Soy Señora Molina Reyes. Makes
Molina
it more
Reyes.
interesting, you know.
That's more power. That's like more.
It's more powerful.
Tiene más garra.
Sí,
you know?
Tiene más. Y luego Reyes, tienes que decirlo con la R. No es Molina Reyes, es Reyes.
Is that something you tell your students now? R. Tiene que ser R, no Reyes.
En mi primer año de maestra, siempre les decía a mis niños, porque en aquel entonces no estaba casado todavía, solamente era señora Reyes. Pero hacía que los estudiantes lo practicaran para que pudieran hacer ese sonido de la R.
Es bien importante.
Sí, es bien importante.
Ok, y es bien importante que una maestra les enseñe, que les diga, hey, tienes que decirlo de esta manera. Y la verdad que it's very tough to roll that R. You know, if you don't speak Spanish, I mean...
Sí, no es algo natural para muchos estudiantes, especialmente los americanos, porque es un sonido que no forma parte del inglés, la R. Entonces, realmente te tienes que esforzar para hacer ese
¿Insinuación? ¿Se puede decir esa insinuación? O...
What do you call it? Para hacer...
¿Pronunciación?
Para hacer el sonido.
El sonido, ok. Para rolear la R.
The rolling R, como le dicen en inglés, the rolling R.
The rolling R. Where are you from? You were born in... ¿Sos mexicana-americana o mexicana-mexicana?
Yo soy mexicana-americana. Yo nací en Chicago. Mis padres, los dos son de México.
De México.
Los dos emigraron acá en diferentes etapas de sus vidas, pero los dos se conocieron acá en Chicago, Maryland, en Chicago, Illinois, y allá empezaron la relación de ellos.
¿Y de qué parte de México son ellos?
Mi mamá, ella es de Valparaíso, Zacatecas, y mi papá es del estado junto a Zacatecas, de San Luis Potosí.
San Luis Potosí. Oh, that's a very known city over there. Here, los cantantes de México son de San Luis Potosí.
¿Cuál será?
No sé, la verdad, pero solo escucho ese nombre a San Luis Potosí en las rancheras, se puede decir en canciones como regional de México.
Sí,
Muchas ciudades se saben decir en esas canciones, ¿me entiendes? Sí, quiero decir que es algo conocido.
Es conocido,
San Luis Potosí, sí.
Igualmente Zacatecas, porque de allá
también
proviene el zapateado. De allá es, ¿cómo se llama?
Zapateado.
El zapateado, de allá es ese artista, recientemente vino.
No sé mucho, la verdad, de los artistas.
No sabe, oh my gosh, me va a matar mi mamá. Pepe Aguilar.
Pepe Aguilar. Yeah.
That TikTok challenge that recently came out, que le dicen a sus papás, oye, ¿viste que falleció tal y tal persona? Yo le dije a mi mamá que había fallecido Pepe Aguilar y recientemente lo habíamos ido a ver. Y mi hermana, she was supposed to be recording. She was, pero yo no sé qué pasó and she didn't record it fully. Pero mi mamá estaba como con lágrimas en los ojos.
So you guys were pranking her?
We were pranking her, yeah.
That's messed up, man.
Yeah, but it was funny.
I mean,
I
get that, but come on, Pepe Aguilar.
Sí, you can't mess with Pepe Aguilar.
Yeah, and I feel like those, like a legend. He's like a legend. He's on top, like with Vicente Fernandez, rest in peace.
Yeah.
Someone that we did lose, last year?
Yep, last year.
You been to Mexico?
Yeah, I've been. The last time I went though was was a while ago. It was in 2011.
When was the first time?
The first time that I went, yo ya ni me acuerdo. Yo estaba chiquitita.
Oh, the first time. I mean, you can't remember Mexico. The first time you've been there, but
yes, I cannot remember.
How was it growing up, being a Mexican American here in the States?
It was. I have to say that ever since I was small, my mom. She taught us Spanish, And I know from what she tells us that my dad didn't want us to learn Spanish because where he grew up in Chicago, it was like he grew up being bullied for being Mexican. And so I guess that kind of scarred him in a way, and he wanted us to grow up with all English, but my mom didn't speak English. Remember, she immigrated here from Mexico also when she was young. She only knew Spanish. She knew some English, but mostly Spanish, so she spoke to us in Spanish all the time. And that's how I learned Spanish from my mom. Because if it would have been up to my dad, I think he would have wanted us to learn only English. So, but in the end, like, gracias a mi mamá, sé el idioma y lo sé muy bien. Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing that's the one language you did dominate the most and first, which is Spanish.
So yeah, so I first dominated Spanish. Then starting elementary school, believe it or not, I had to take ESOL classes in like as a young child in elementary school because I knew no English.
So you knew no English?
I knew no English.
How did your father take that?
I don't know because I don't remember honestly.
No? Okay.
So no, but I'm so grateful to my mom that she taught me Spanish. She spoke to me all in Spanish because look at me now. I mean, I dominate both languages. I would say very well.
And you're teaching the language.
And I'm teaching the language.
It's literally providing you to live.
Yeah, and I think the language, growing up with the language, is not only the language, it's like the culture. I'm not only teaching my students here, the language, I'm also teaching them the culture. I go back to like my memories, like, okay, we're learning this, what I can tell you about this. So maybe we're in the family unit, because we are in the family unit for my Spanish 1 kids.
At the moment?
At the moment, yep. And so I decided to show them some personal family pictures of my family. So I had some pictures of my dad and his family when they first immigrated here. Mm-hmm. And so I could show them those pictures and like show them like, okay, this is how you say, the vocab, grandparents, all of that, aunt, uncle, and all of those words, but showing them through my culture, like, okay, Mexicans, they usually tend to have large families. Mm-hmm. And using my parents as an example, my dad was one of 6 kids. My mom is one of 13. So I can use both of them as examples in my teaching experiences.
No, for sure. And I'm sure you have. They definitely inspired you to make the decision to become a teacher. And as a kid, was that something that you had in you? Did you say, remember when they used to ask you, let's say they asked you, what do you want to be when you grow up? Mm-hmm. As a kid, did you say teacher?
Ever since I was little, and I don't know where it came from. Ever since I was so little, I wanted to be a teacher.
Did you know what subject, or did you just knew you wanted to teach?
I knew I wanted to teach, and I don't know, and maybe it was my love of learning from when I was little. I got a workbook. I think I may have gotten it from a book fair at some point in elementary school, and it was like a math workbook. That became like my teaching workbook, and the basement in my parents' house became like, where the furnace is. Mm-hmm. Where the furnace was like, I turned it into my like chalkboard, and I even made like I remember making a border, a cheesy border that said like "school is cool" that went all around. And I taught from that math workbook, and my students were my younger brother and my younger sister, Susana and Frankie. They were my students.
You had a whole classroom going on.
I had a whole little classroom, and that was that's where my love for teaching like started.
That was your inspiration,
Yeah, like I guess like my teachers growing up, I had really good teachers growing up, both in public schools, and then when I went into private school, all of my teachers, they were really good teachers, and they instilled in us not only like teaching, but I saw like the religious side of it too, what mm-hmm. they instilled in us. And even when I was in high school, like I see it now where they were coming from, but back when I was in high school, I think I was kind of rebellious, and I was like, I don't need this, but yeah.
It didn't. You felt like you wanted to move towards something that was not the rebellious side. You could have gone a different way. You could say, at a young age and not chosen this path.
Yeah, I could have gone a different path. But ever since when I was young, like my parents told me like. And as all like most Latino parents are like, you're in this country, you have so many opportunities. Yeah. The key to that is education.
education, and look, you're educating all these kids, and
Yeah,
I'm sure you can.
I'm educating all these kids now as a teacher, and I had to go through my formal education to become a teacher. So,
Did you have any teachers that you look up to, like during when you were a student? Let's say, you know, in your mindset, you say, "I want to be a teacher." Were there any teachers that you? Not, I don't want you to say any names, of course, but were there any teachers that definitely provided that sense of, yes, I want to be not like her, but or like him, but that's who I aspire to be?
I actually did in middle school. I remember having a teacher. He was a really cool teacher. He was a math teacher, and I felt like so inspired like by him. He was not only good at teaching math, but he was good at teaching you how to be a good human, you know?
Okay.
Like just instilling you good values and stuff. And I remember he would throw us, I still remember, he would throw like the students who did well.
All right, kids. Good afternoon.
We are here doing a podcast at White Oak Middle School. Once again, another interruption, which is totally fine because this is what this podcast is about, is to bring in genuine talk. And let's finish up the message real quick before we start over. And it's over. And again, this is what this podcast is about. Don't even feel like any type of way because, I mean, hey, we're here. And I appreciate you for actually having me here in your classroom in White Oak Middle School.
Yeah,
So
sure.
back to the conversation.
So yes, this teacher, he would choose students periodically to have like a Sloppy Joe party. He would make Sloppy Joe sandwiches for us, and they were really good. I remember
Okay,
they
don't
were
start
so
talking
good.
about food. I'm hungry right now. So
I am so hungry right now too. I'm really hungry. But I mean, I had some really inspirational teachers throughout the years.
yeah.
And then in high school, I also had a really, really inspirational Spanish teacher. He played his little guitar for us. He really got us into the lessons and stuff.
Did he
and
sing?
He also sang.
Yeah.
He was really inspirational. I would love to do the same, but I just feel like at the middle school level, they wouldn't be too into it, or
Why
they
not?
would. I don't know. These
Have you done it? Have you tried it?
I've burst in. I'm one of those teachers who
Have you
sometimes
sang?
randomly bursts into song, and the
Okay.
kids are just like, "This isn't cool," or "I don't like this," or just
Okay.
something like that. So I'm
Okay.
like,
You stay away
maybe-
from it.
maybe I should stay away from things like that. But to me, that was really inspirational to me.
How do you burst? I wanna get an idea of that. Like, how do you like? Is it like a burst, or is it like, let's say you're reading? Ahora en este día la agenda es calentamiento. Terminar las notas. Something
No,
like that.
It's something way more random and.
Or you just come out the cut with like
It's
Shakira or something.
Something like really random. Like I remember when I first started teaching, I started teaching in high school, and I had a student who just kept turning around, and I asked them like, can you turn around? Until I burst into singing. That's one. I don't even know who sings it, but it's like, turn around every now and then we get it. I don't even know how it
Okay.
goes, but that's all I said. I just burst into song. They didn't
That's hilarious,
understand.
though.
They didn't understand the context because it's not from their. That's
yeah,
an
it's
old
not
song.
from their era. Yeah, that
It's
is,
not from their time. It's not even from my time, but I've heard the song
Yeah.
and I like it.
No, I was listening to a TED Talk this
Mhm.
morning in regards of teachers, you know, because I was trying to prepare myself, and I ended up listening to this gentleman, and he spoke about some question, a special question that I wanted to ask you. Is
Mhm.
basically, what makes a good teacher great? In your opinion, what do you think?
I think what makes a good teacher great, because any good teacher, any teacher can be good because they teach good and they know their content. But I think what really makes them great is the personal touch, like really caring about the kids in some way that maybe another teacher doesn't, like really trying to connect with them, like genuinely caring to some degree, and having them not only caring but having them notice and having them feel the care that you give them.
That's a very good answer, because basically you're implying listening, you know,
Mhm.
caring, making sure they're fine, you know, actually watching out after them, and
Yeah.
caring about, you know, what their life could be outside of school, because
Mhm.
you know, again, you are dealing with teenagers, kids who are growing day by day and learning about this thing called life. I mean,
yeah, about life. And as teachers, we're guiding them through life. We're not only teaching them, we're also at the same time trying to teach them how to be good humans. Like, for example, in my class, two students started like arguing with each other, and I'm like, guys, let's take it outside. Come outside. And I'm trying to mediate between them. Like, what did he do? What did he say? Or why are you bothered? And he was like explaining, and I said, why did this bother you? How did this make you feel? And I'm like, I don't want you guys to be fighting in class, because we don't want to have that kind of environment in the class. And I'm like, you guys need to talk it out. Sometimes, and this play fighting that sometimes goes on, you may think of it as play fighting, but then suddenly in one split second, one person gets offended, they take it seriously, and that's where the fights break out, or that's where a fight could potentially break out.
Yeah, a bad fall, something.
Yep.
You know.
And we wanna nip that in the bud. So like sometimes like separating people, having them talk to each other outside. You don't want to embarrass anyone in front of the whole class. You always want to take them outside to the side, let no one look at what's going on.
And as a student myself, growing up here in Montgomery County, literally I went to Francis Scott Key Middle School up the street. We were rivals with White Oak. Rivals in the sense of, you're up the street type of thing. Yeah. So being in altercations in classrooms and school, I mean, I could talk all day about a lot of the ones that I had, and a lot of the ones that I did try to stop, because you don't want that in school. You don't want your school, you don't want to be acting like a fool in school. You don't want to be constantly fighting, constantly noticing people fighting. And as a teacher, you get put in those situations. There's so many situations that, that can lead to a teacher even getting hurt, to a teacher even not knowing what to do in that situation. So you actually taking the initiative and bringing these situations, these scenarios, into a calm position where
de-escalating
before it gets crazy.
Kind of a point.
You doing that just shows that that's great.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the question and the talk that I listened to. A lot of the things that he was getting at, he said he asked about 20 schools, 20 schools in the different counties, the question. And a lot of them said, listening, listening, and caring, and one of them said singing. A good teacher makes, basically, what was the question? I can't even remember it myself. What makes a good teacher great?
Yeah.
If you sing, I said one of them, and it's almost like, what? He kind of told himself, like, what are you talking about? I don't do that. And it was almost like a thing, like there's things that you don't know that the students want from you, that want you to know that they're thinking of you. Another thing was if they have an apple.
If they have an apple,
because and it's funny that there's an apple on the table, which you told me you found it randomly.
Yeah, I found it randomly on the floor. And
it just somehow ends up being here, and
I guess
there's a purpose to
symbolic.
It is symbolic, exactly. And he went on and said that he never ate an apple, and then once he was told that, he started eating an apple every day. And when the students noticed that he was eating an apple every day, when they caught on to it, they were like, "Oh, you have an apple." They were excited. They're like, "Whoa, you really have an apple on your table?" And then he was like, "Yeah, I eat apples." And then the next day they came and they gave him an apple. And it's almost like it creates like that bond, that symbol of like, hey, like you're a teacher and you like apples. And it's like those little things that the students may think, and then may not tell you, but mean so much to them. Like you pulling them to the side, I'm pretty sure that those students like will come to you for anything. I mean, maybe they not, because not everybody's the same, but I mean, doing it, it just shows the kind of person that you are and that you grew up to be in. And it tells me a lot about you, and I'm very proud that you are sitting in a situation where you are maneuvering and handling yourself as such, because there's teachers that don't even know how to handle themselves during that. They could even break down. They end up calling the principal right away, they put their hands on the students.
That's true, and that's something I would never want to do. Like
Exactly.
I would never want to find myself in a situation where I'm violently being violent physically in some kind of fight. I don't want that. So it's better to de-escalate and have those de-escalating
Sinners.
moves to have before anything breaks out. We actually get trained on restorative justice. We're a big restorative justice school where we focus on de-escalating before anything happens, and if there is an incident, like restoring a student into a space and just finding out what happened, getting into feelings, really exploring everything. So
No, and it's important. How was it for you, being in school, that basically going to college and just preparing yourself to be a teacher?
it wasn't, so I didn't take the traditional career pathway, like preparation to be a teacher. I minored in languages at UMBC, and so I did that. So it wasn't until I graduated, which it took me like twice as long because I suffered a stroke in 2010, and I was in undergrad at that point, so it took me some extra years to finish. And then after that, I decided to go into the teacher preparation program at UMBC through the master's program there. So
It's been a tough journey.
it's been a tough journey, but I think it's been well worth it. It's been hard. I mean, it's nothing that is gonna reap rewards is gonna come easy,
Exactly. And you're a proof of that. It's a miracle that you're even sitting in this. You're facing me right now because of everything you've been through. You suffering a stroke is no joke, and you going through all these obstacles and I mean, looking gorgeous. Que no me vaya a pegar el José Luis, but looking how you are, I mean, standing tall and just strong. I mean, it just shows the warrior that you are. And I'm guessing that progress that was very tough for you. Do you want to talk about that?
It was a hard moment in my life. Like from one moment to the next, like my life completely changed from having a stroke to like living through it, then the rehabilitation, then like neurologically, it's not just physically, it's like mentally. You got to get back into the right mental state. Like I had to go back to school. That's why it took me so extra time to graduate undergrad, because I had to bounce back from that mentally. Like my memory was at an all-time low. And I mean, I'm not saying my memory now is like much better, but it's a lot better than it was before.
What caused it, if I may ask?
So my stroke, it was a hemorrhagic stroke. It was actually caused by a very rare malformation that I had in my brain. It has since been obliterated, and it was obliterated through radiation at Johns Hopkins.
How did you find out about that? Like, because of the stroke, I'm guessing. That's what led you to finding that out, or did you know something?
No, I actually knew. We all knew about the malformation that I had ever since like 2000. I think we found it in 2005, and we found out. One day I suddenly had like a really random seizure. I suffered from headaches ever since I was a little girl, but one day I had a random seizure, and that led us to going to the hospital, then getting referrals to a neurologist at Johns Hopkins, who, by the way, is a Cuban doctor, Cuban neurologist, un cubano, Rafael Tamargo. I'm sure he's still there at Johns Hopkins. Shout out to Rafael Tamargo. Whenever I would have to go to follow-up visits or to see him, my husband, José Luis, would say, ¿Y está dulce o todavía está amargo? So he's a good doctor there. But yeah, so we knew about what caused it. It's just one of those random cases where it ruptured, the malformation ruptured, and in this case, it ruptured.
So in 2005, you find out about this. And were you at high school already, or were you in high school?
I was in high school. I think I was a junior in high school at the time.
And you finished off high school knowing that, and
Yep, finished off high school. Like they did certain procedures at Johns Hopkins to like minimize the actual malformation, which is like a knot of like intertwined veins in the brain, but they don't have the capillary system that a normal brain has to connect them. So basically it's a rush of blood in the connecting veins, and at any point, depending on the pressure, something could rupture, and that's what happened.
That's what happened in 2010.
In 2010, yep.
Which is rupture, caused you to have a stroke, and then what was the process like then? What process did you have to take in order for you to beat that, overcome that?
So I had radiation at Johns Hopkins like in 2006, I think, but then it ruptured in 2010. So in 2010, I had another dose of radiation. So I had 2 stereotactic radiation treatments. And so in 2010, with that radiation, like it causes it to shrink, like it shrivels down the malformation, but it takes like time. You have to keep going for follow-up visits, getting the MRIs, the imaging to see how it's progressing. And it was in 2018 when I went to get a angiogram where they do a very detailed study of the malformation, where they found that it had been obliterated.
Wow. And
yeah.
How did you feel?
I felt relieved. I did feel very relieved, but I thought I wouldn't have to take any more seizure medication, and it wasn't until after I gave birth to my son where I had a random seizure, and it was due to the malformation. Like although it's no longer there, like there's still scarred tissue around it, and it's possible that it can cause a seizure.
To this day.
To this day, I believe so. So I am still taking medication for it.
Okay, but let's pray that everything just soothes out. And a question for you: what has kept you going? Because what keeps you going? I mean, high school, finding that out, finishing high school, still having that drive, going to college with that, still having that drive.
Yep,
suffering the stroke, still having that drive.
Yep, and you know what? And I still have the drive
But what keeps you going?
I want to be able to have something under my belt, be able to say, look, I have my career, I have my family. And not only do I want my career, but I want to keep going above and beyond within my career. Like, I don't want to just stay being a teacher. I want to be good at what I do, but be even better and go above and beyond. I'm thinking I would like to get my master's in education further down the road and just expand within the education system.
Which you're going to school now for, right?
No, I'm taking a class right now because when I went for my master's in teaching, the university, well, I don't know, there was a whole big mix-up. I had a really horrible student teaching experience.
Tell me about it.
So I was at a majority white high school, and I was matched my student teacher, like my master teacher, my mentor teacher that I was matched to. She was not a good fit. Like she found every little thing to like nitpick about me, like to complain about me. And my student teaching experience at that high school was horrible. Like it was so bad. I made it through, like I made through it, but it wasn't a pleasant experience. It was another obstacle for you. Yeah, I would say it was another obstacle. I was missing some credits because to be a teacher, you have to pass the series of praxis exams, and it's language and reading, writing, and math.
Okay.
Although I loved math in middle school, and
your favorite teacher was a math teacher.
My favorite teacher was a math teacher, but guess what? That math praxis exam I could not pass. I failed it twice, and the university let me walk, but I had signed like something that said like I had to pass that math exam, but I never did.
No.
and they let me walk and everything. And that's not the reason why I didn't officially get the master's there. It's actually because I was missing like 3 credits. So that's why I'm there now. I'm taking a 3-credit course now. And it's actually a really interesting course right now that I'm taking.
What course is it?
It's called, it's an advanced Spanish class. It's a 600 level course, and it's called Las Voces de Inmigración, the Voices of Immigration. So so far it's been a really interesting class.
Oh, I'm excited. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
What is something that makes it so exciting?
So,
I mean, immigration is exciting. I mean, your parents, I mean, you are surrounded, with a lot of people that have, immigrated from other countries. I mean, I'm one of them.
Yeah.
For example.
So I'm surrounded, like, every day, I'm surrounded by immigrants, and like, it's just, the whole point is that, like, immigrants here don't have a voice because there's no face of immigrants in the U.S. It's not like they don't have a representative, because they can't. Immigrants here are like hidden, especially when there's no documentation.
Correct.
There is no like representatives to immigrants. So how do they make their voices heard? It's hard many times to hear their voices. The first day of the class, I was like, I told them, I feel like immigrants don't have a voice because they can't have a voice because many times they're like living in the shadows, or they don't want to be recognized or found, or so it's hard for them.
No, it's a risk. It's a risk for them.
It's a huge risk.
You're coming from a different country, huyendo, you're just getting away from it because of whatever reason, and you're coming here also living, but huyendo, like getting away from getting in trouble or getting involved in the wrong. You're walking on tippy toes, and what are some of the things that you guys are planning to do in that class?
So the classes is really I find it interesting, and when I first started the class, I'm like, well, I have a lot of background knowledge, but it's not just immigrants that are hiding. Like, we don't realize a lot of immigrants that are here, they've come legally because of like maybe educational purposes. They've come here to pursue higher education from their countries, and like it's a whole nother world. So it's just looking into like different media. So I've been listening to the podcast of Jose Alarcón, Radio Ambulante. It's like the voices of like certain themes or certain issues within the community of immigrants. Like, for example, a podcast that because they're like really long, but it's part of the stuff we have to read and listen to prepare ourselves for the lectures for the class. And it's like there's a whole, like, I did not know that muchos inmigrantes que vienen y los capturan y they hold them like on bail. There are all these companies like that are, or there's a company that's out there that like that que les ofrece el bail money, the bail bond money
to pay, and
then it's like they're getting themselves into so much debt they don't know what they're getting into. It's like so many issues. So that's what the class is looking at, like different voices and like different perspectives within immigration. So it's an interesting class.
No, I bet. And it's cool that you're still keeping yourself, focused in school and learning, which is something else that I did see on the TED Talk. Just, a good teacher, what makes a good teacher, great? It's that they learn.
Yeah,
and that's something that's behind the scenes.
Yeah,
that doesn't get seen by the students.
Yeah, like a good teacher is never gonna stop learning, even though they're teaching. They're in the background. Students don't see that. Like, I've told my students, "Oh yeah, I'm taking a university course." They don't know what it really entails, and they don't know like everything that goes on behind the scenes. But teachers are always still learning. Like, we have to take different courses, or we're offered different courses during the summer also. And so we get trained, or we can take courses that are just interesting to us. Like, I took one over the summer that was making resources. How can we make things more accessible? Like, literally more accessible for students who maybe are a little hard of hearing. Like things that I didn't know, like the importance of adding captions to your videos, especially for students that are hard of hearing, like captions and like being able to, And for my foreign language class, like videos, making sure that some videos that I do show that I can like slow them down, that they have like the playback speed where you can slow it down. So maybe they didn't understand, but I can slow it down for them.
Yeah.
So just issues of accessibility. So teachers can take courses behind the scenes
to interact better with them.
Yes.
To teach them better. To be a teacher. Basically, because honestly, I feel like I grew up. I did think about being a teacher growing up. I thought it was like.
Yeah, I know. I remember you telling me.
Yeah, it'd be something that I could see myself doing because it's fun,
Yeah.
and it's teaching. It's something that I've always looked up to, because I'm a learner. I like to, just view others, and this is the reason why I CeloViews. I like to bring in people and just learn from them and just hear their stories and see, what we can share to the people who are listening. There's other kids, there's people who are your teacher right now who want to be a Spanish teacher.
Yeah. And that's actually also a reason why I became a teacher. Like, statistically, there aren't many to the rate of how many Hispanics are in the U.S. It's disproportionate in the system how many Hispanic teachers there are.
Really?
We're a minority. I mean, it's growing. Luckily, it's growing, but it's like.
What middle school and what county did you grow up in?
I grew up in Baltimore County,
Okay.
and in all of my childhood, I never had a Hispanic teacher, especially in public school. I never saw any Hispanic teachers in public school. In my high school, my Spanish teacher, he was a Latino teacher, but like.
There are a lot of high schools that there's nothing wrong with having a Caucasian, let's say, be a teacher. I mean, they learn the language. They earn that title.
Yeah.
But it does make it more comfortable, to have that Spanish teacher as just teaching you that language. I never thought I'd take Spanish, in my whole life. But, then came high school and I needed some credits.
Yeah.
And I took Spanish for Spanish speakers. And shout out to Miss Peterson. She was great. I wish I paid more attention, in school and, actually went to school for what you go for, which is learning and writing and doing your homework. Yeah. It was more of a getaway for me. So I loved going to school. I love interacting with teachers and I'm pretty sure that if I were in my era, if you were my teacher, we probably would have gotten along.
I'm sure.
We probably would have stopped some fights together.
Right. Oh my gosh, Marcelo, you would have helped me. No, I'm not saying. Like teachers, we go through a lot. And
Montgomery County, though, how do you feel about Montgomery County? Because you said you were teaching over at less Hispanic.
I started out in Howard County. Yeah,
Howard County. Okay.
Yeah, it was definitely no Latino teachers over there. It's a lot more proportionate over here in Montgomery County, and
it's a weird feeling, right? Just feeling like you're don't
belong,
like right?
You kind of don't belong, and the few Hispanic teachers that you do meet,
don't even want you there.
No, you want to hold tight onto them.
Okay.
You want to can you take me under your wing? Because there aren't many.
Yeah.
And so I feel a lot more comfortable here in Montgomery County. I love this county. I really do.
Is White Oak the first school you taught here, or was there a different one?
No, I started out at Northwest High School, up county in Germantown.
Oh, high school. How was high school like?
High school, it was a journey. It was that's its own story.
Tell me about the story though.
So I think high school did a good job of preparing me for middle school, because sometimes I feel like middle school, dealing with high school students, they're a little more, I don't know, they're just already I don't know, to me they're kind of intimidating now that I look back on it. But I think it also depends on the school. I think where I was in Germantown is upstate, and up county. Up county. And you know what they say about the up county, Montgomery County.
What do they say? I know nothing about that.
It's like they have more money up county.
Oh, okay.
That's
okay,
what they say. I mean, think about it.
No, yeah, it makes sense. No.
Germantown.
Hey, I went through, when I first came to this country,
yeah,
we were in Langley Park. That's PG County. There's less guidance for the kids than there is uptown. So continue on. Northwest.
So Northwest High School, it was a good experience, but I would have to say they had everything they needed at my high school that I started at here in Montgomery County. They really didn't need me as a Latina teacher there because they had plenty of resources up county.
You're right.
Plenty of resources. And down county, I feel like I'm more at home down here.
But what led you?
County.
Did you decide to leave Northwest?
It was because of my whole teaching credentials
Okay.
that I had to do like extra coursework and stuff to get my teaching certification. And it was actually because of that math test that I never passed. It was someone from the recruiting office with MCPS told me, because I left because of, well, they couldn't renew my contract because of that. They told me, you didn't pass the math praxis, your provisional certification is over. Like, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. So I was like,
how did you
okay.
feel about that? I mean, did you want it?
I felt crushed. I
Okay.
felt like, because I was studying and stuff, maybe I didn't apply myself as well as I should have in studying, but like I studied, I tried.
You worked your ass off.
I
Butt
worked
off.
my ass off. My husband yelled at me plenty of times. He would be like, you need to put down that phone and start like studying for real. And well, I didn't pass it. They couldn't continue having me there. But maybe it was for the best because, you know, like, okay, I was then pregnant at the time. So I left. I had to take a break. But then I was informed by a recruiter in central office from Montgomery County that Maryland actually got rid of the having to pass the math praxis, like the math test portion. If you had a certain GPA, a 3.0 or above in undergrad, then you were good.
You were above that.
So I was above that. So yeah.
And what happens now?
So I was able to come back
To Montgomery?
to Montgomery County. I applied, and that was during COVID. So I had my son. So I started. They hired me here at White Oak Middle School for that COVID online year, and it was a crazy year.
Tell me about that year. Like,
So
as a teacher, I mean, that comes out of nowhere. You're like, whoa.
Yes,
Another
as
obstacle.
A teacher, yes, as a teacher, but you know, all of us teachers were in the same boat. We didn't know, like, it was like we were swimming, we were treading new waters, but we were all doing it together, and we got through it. It was quite a learning experience, especially with technology, like having.
What were the kids like?
The kids were very quiet because they were all secluded in their own homes in front of a screen. It was hard to really build a bond, get to know students, because many didn't want to turn on their cameras when we were in class, and so it was kind of hard to reach them. But that was in the first half of the year. Then in the second half, they did transition teachers to go back into the classroom, but not every day. And the students were like coming in on a rotational basis. So some teachers were still at home teaching from home. Some students were at school taking their online classes, but at school. So
You didn't really have the experience yet of coming back to Montgomery County with middle school, right?
Right.
At that
so
point, 'cause
that
you were
was
just
my
at
first.
home.
Yeah, it was at home. So it was my first year teaching middle school, and it was online, and it was kind of confusing, but getting through that year was good. Coming towards the second half of the year, coming like 1 week yes, 1 week no, it was also nice because you could see kids. They weren't really kids themselves were like really, because you know we were in COVID.
Secluded, yeah.
We were secluded. Like we were
Math.
getting guidance. Remember, we were getting guidance from here, there, what to do, what not to do. Sometimes the guidance contradicted each other, so kids were kind of scared too. And you could see
Yeah,
it.
it was a crazy moment. I mean,
It was crazy.
when you got presents that arrived at your house, you took forever to open them because you thought it had COVID on it. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a crazy
You were
time.
spraying down everything.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I mean, it comes with being healthy, just maintaining yourself. It kind of like put a switch in us. I feel like you should be more clean in a way. You should take care of those that did take it as such. It's like a wake up call.
Yeah.
Hey, like this thing is out here. You can die at any
Yeah.
moment because of
You
it.
could
So
die.
take care of yourself. Take care of your
Yeah.
life, and it's to look forward to. I mean, you come back for your first year here in White Oak. How was that?
So my first year back, which was last school year, it was a difficult year.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the kids didn't have that social guidance. Like they didn't know how to act around like others because they had been secluded.
Yeah.
Right. So it was kind of tough on them, and it was tough for teachers to have to deal with that. I think this year is a little better, but some students, I don't know,
We're still having like,
are still having
it's
some
still tough for them. Yeah,
it's
some
still
trouble.
tough for them, and
And it's understandable. I mean,
yeah, it's understandable. Plus, they're in middle school. They're in
Yeah.
a time in their life where they're like transitioning, and they're like trying to see who they are. They're navigating through their own
has this
issues
always
as
been
well.
your classroom? This classroom here, has it been the one classroom you've had since you've been here?
Yeah,
Yeah?
yeah. So I started here last year, and I really like this classroom because it has a lot of space. I've tried to do some different things, like just do a few different things. So it's not too different from how it was last year. I tweaked it a little bit. But I mean, I try to put up posters that are like inclusive and like, I try to do a few different things like that I have all of my Spanish speaking countries up on the wall back there. And sometimes students are like, well, what's that country? And then Brazil is up there too. They don't speak Spanish, but they're part of Latin America.
Yeah, Latin America, yeah.
Yeah. And so I've tried to make it look nice for the kids, a little appealing. I recently just put up that board, like that border. It says, Ponte en movimiento, busca tu asiento.
Ponte
Like-
movimiento.
With the seating charts, because kids go crazy.
Oh, you got a CD chart.
They have their assigned seats. Kids try to go crazy, like erasing their names.
Have
and
you
stuff.
always had a
No,
CD chart?
No,
Is
but
it just this year?
ya me puse firme because sometimes the kids are like, let's play with Señora Molina. She's not noticing us moving around, and I'm like, you guys can't do this. Sit in your assigned seats, because that's how we have order, and it's gonna be more it's gonna be a lot more orderly in here. It won't be chaotic. So I've tried to do some changes.
No, so you try to basically set that foundation, like, hey guys, we're here to learn. You know, we
Yeah.
can have our moments,
Yeah.
but let's take it easy.
Yeah.
Is that challenging for you to do with the teenagers nowadays? And just
It is. I find that it is challenging, and then I'm like, a lot of my teenagers are bigger than me, and I'm kind of a petite person, so I feel like, and then I have a low voice also, so I feel like I don't really have that dominating voice or dominating presence, so I have to do other kinds of things, right? And this year I feel has challenged me, but I've made some changes in my classroom. Like, I'm, as some have told me when they've come and observed me, like, you need to make some changes. So I'm on that. I'm trying to make those changes. So I'm trying not to sit down as much anymore. I actually I put my computer over on that Chromebook cart. So that's like, to me, it reminds me of a cocktail table, but I can set up there so I can watch everybody and make sure they see my presence up there and that I'm watching them, and then I'm like supervising all of them.
who tells you gotta do things different? Like
Our admin. So they come in, our admin, the school admin, principal, assistant principals. They'll walk around and observe, and they'll tell you like what you need
some
to work
adjustments.
on. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
that makes
and
sense.
it's positive, it's constructive
Yeah,
criticism
of
for you,
course.
so it's
It's
gonna
needed.
help you. It's needed. It is.
No, and I'm guessing. How do you feel? Because like when you have a stand-up desk, I was looking into. I feel like it helps your posture more, and it's better than actually sitting down all the time.
Yeah, it is better than sitting down. Plus, when I'm up there, when I do stand up there, because I'm not always sitting, because it's also heavy for your feet, being on your feet all day. So I do sit down sometimes, but I make sure that I'm up there periodically to make sure that the students see me and I'm looking at all of them. So it helps.
How many hours do you usually work, like a day?
So teachers don't have that typical 8-hour work day. No, it's more like 10, sometimes even 11, 12.
Sheesh.
Because our work it's not just, I'm here, I clock in at from 7 to it's definitely not a 9 to 5 job. We put in work outside of our contract hours, and I've been trying a lot. I've been trying harder now to like really focus on work at work, and my home stuff at home.
Yeah, how do you balance that? I mean, your mom, you have a 3-year-old? Am I wrong?
I have a 3-year-old.
3-year-old Jose Luis Jr.?
No,
No.
he's not a junior.
Chepecito.
People keep calling him
Chepito,
Chepito,
you know?
and I'm like, his name is not Jose.
So it's just Luis.
His first name is Luis. Se llama Luis Zairle. Yeah, so
Okay.
he's not a Chepito.
Oh, he's not a Chepito.
A lot of people sometimes are like Chepito,
For
Chepito.
anybody listening, Chepito, you call Chepe for Jose.
Yeah, for Jose, and he's not.
And he's not.
He's not.
No, he definitely is not.
He's, if anything, my mom calls him Luigi, like, you know, Luigi, like from Mario. Yeah. So that's his nickname for my mom.
How do you balance that though?
Balancing work and life.
Work and life. I mean, you're telling me you're here like what, like almost like 12 hours. Honestly, that's like half your day.
So I've tried to cut back. Like for one, I leave my work computer here at school, so that I know that when I'm at school, I'm focused on work. But when I leave here, my work computer stays in the classroom.
For planning, how does that go? Do you usually plan during, let's say lunchtime or working hours, or is that something you do at home?
So teachers get prep periods. So say there's 7 classes, but teachers teach 5, and then the 2 others are prep periods.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So
that's
you don't see that. You don't see that as a student.
Yeah, you don't. Students don't see that.
Yeah.
But we're prepping, we're planning, we're grading, we're getting stuff ready. We might be running around.
It gives you a break too.
Yeah, it gives us a little break. So as a teacher, you have to learn to like structure your prep time, because sometimes like there will be days when I'm really tired and I'll just like sit here and like not do anything, or I'll like watch a show or something. But sometimes you really gotta, de verdad te tienes que poner las pilas, and you gotta grade.
Because at the end of the day, these kids are depending on you. I mean, they have to pass these classes. They have to, the information you're giving them, like this piece of paper here, they have to basically learn what goes in it from you. And you have to grade them to see if they listen. And it's like, it falls on you.
And then it's not just grading, but then like looking over everything in general, like did all of my students do well? Well, if like half the class didn't do well, that means that I have to reteach this. So I have to like tweak what I had already taught so that they will learn it, and then like reevaluate them.
How challenging is that? Like, let's say you have a lot of students that don't just let the E's, the D's. What do you do in that case? Do you bring them in and say, hey, like, you have an E in my class. What's going on?
Yeah, there have been cases like that. You really got to work one-on-one with those certain students.
Does it work for you?
It has worked. Like sometimes not all students are a one size fits all student. That's not gonna go. Sometimes you have to meet them where they're able to meet you. Like, okay, you didn't do well on this writing assessment. Why don't you talk to me about it? Yeah. I'm not gonna make you write it, but tell it to me. Like, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And if you're able to assess, well, they understood what we were talking about, they're doing fine, I'm gonna help you with this. You gotta meet them and kind of tweak things to fit their needs, so that they can demonstrate their knowledge to you.
How is that mentally for you?
Sometimes, well, as the years go by, you learn what works and what doesn't, and what definitely doesn't work. So you learn, and especially with like the COVID year, we gave students a lot of leniency. Like we gave them a lot of leniency. Like, and that's kind of helped to shape me now. Like, I'm not gonna say I'm as lenient as I was during COVID teaching, but like I try to understand where every student's coming from.
No,
and
I
like
mean,
work with them.
Honestly, as a student myself, you were a student yourself. You dealt with your own obstacles. Again, going back to, figuring out that you had this big thing going on in your life that could take it away in high school. And, there's kids that also have struggles at home, and you just don't know what people are going through, especially the teenagers. I mean, there's the shy ones, and there's the ones who are here to basically learn, and they're very well educated. Their parents are on them hard to keep it together, and the ones who don't. I mean, honestly, I was one of them that, again, like school was like a scapegoat for me. I should have done better, but it's like there were teachers who did understand me, and there were teachers who didn't. And now that I look at it, I tell myself, oh, I could have done things better. But I'm thankful because it teaches me, and it lets me know that when I do have kids, you know, it's important for me to put the attention to them.
Yeah.
You know, to let them know that, hey, home is home and school is school. You know, and you're gonna be loved, and you're gonna be cared for here. And that way, when you go out, you know how to be cared for and how to be loved and how to share. I don't know. I feel like life, man. It's teaching. Like life itself is all teaching, regardless if you're a teacher at a school. I mean, you're a teacher when you're a mom. Like you're teaching your son to be a young boy,
to be a good person.
How's the experience for being a mom?
Being a mom has been like the best thing that has happened to me. I love it. Like I never really truly imagined.
He does look like a Chepito though.
A lot of people tell me, and it hurts him. A lot of people, whenever anybody says, "Oh, he looks just like her," he's like, but he looks like both of us.
No,
I think.
yeah,
he looks like both of us.
I've heard this thing about couples that tend, to stay forever. They kind of have like a similarity.
Yeah, they say couples
and
that
you
have
and
been together
Chepe have
for a
that
long
similarity.
time,
Yeah,
they start to look like each other.
And he has both of you. So how is it like? You're happy?
I'm so happy. Like
he's 3 years old. How has it been?
3 years old. He's over his terrible twos, but sometimes he still gets those fits.
Mm-hmm.
He will get a little bit, he'll go into
toddler,
he will go back to his like terrible two stages. But then other times he's just like so loving, and it's so, I love it. I love being a mom. It's a really nice experience. Yeah.
Will you be, let's say if you didn't have him, do you think you would be in the same position now? Let's say like teaching wise, because I feel like as a mom it kind of molds you to even have more care. Because what I'm listening, what I'm getting from you is that you're caring, and you put discipline. You're firm, but because you're firm, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be loving. It doesn't mean that you're not going to watch out, because there's people that are firm and they're just firm.
Yeah. And
I don't know if you've always been like that, or if being a mother, like
I think being a mom has kind of changed me, and I see where my parents were coming from, and it's like they taught me certain things, and sometimes I thought it was harsh, but it was coming from a place of love. And I see myself kind of doing those things with my son, like, but kind of tweaking it a bit, like talking more, not really being so like, because my parents, they were really. Oh yeah. I mean, Latinos, we talk about. They had to be.
We're talking about Latino community, Hispanos, immigration. Yeah. I mean, discipline is big in that community.
Yeah.
And if you're not disciplined, if you're not right, you're gonna get your ass whooped. You're gonna get your butt whooped. Because if you don't learn the right way, you're gonna learn the hard way. And it's tough. It sucks that we go through that, because it does lead to, mental problems,
it can
trauma.
lead to certain issues. Yeah.
So being a father or mother is also challenging. I mean, it's almost like it's a career of its own. And I'm proud of you. Honestly, you're doing magnificent. You're continue to just strike them obstacles like it's nothing. And I know that you're aware that more could come. And I feel like just listening to you and just learning from you, just hearing you, it just shows me the warrior you are. I mean, going through what you went through with the stroke and just everything you've surpassed. I mean, nobody will sit here firmly and say, hey, I'm here because of me. That's why I asked you, what keeps you going? Like, not many people have that mental capacity to just keep going.
Yeah.
After so many things that happen in their lives.
It's hard, but I would have to say that now that I have a family, it's like my family, my own little family that keeps me going.
Yeah. So it's not your career.
My career
is part of it,
but my family is what keeps me there, and they're there to push me to want to do better.
There's kids listening to us right now. I'm pretty sure you're gonna share this. You could share this to your students, and a special message to them. Anybody who wants to be a teacher, or just a special message to the world. What would you like to say?
I think a lot of times, like, students are told, "Oh, don't be a teacher. They don't make a lot of money and stuff like that." But if that's what you want to do, go for it, because it's not. You will be making a lot of change. And whether you realize it or not, I'm pretty sure some of my students, maybe from years ago, hopefully they still remember me. Some of them, sometimes I jump bump into people sometimes, and they're like old students, and they still remember me. Hopefully, that will be the case with other students. Like, I hope if they want to be a teacher, if they're inspired to do that, go for it. It's a great career, and you are making changes in other people's lives.
And that's important. I mean, honestly, that made me smile because, you know, just to know that making changes, I mean, changing somebody's life it's big. I've had so many conversations with teachers myself and people, you know, who are wise and to keep me going, you know, because it's important. It's important to, hey, be there for each other, you know, of course, be there for you, watch out for you. But it's like when you can spread that, it just makes everything, it makes everything flow. And then students, listen, keep at it. You know, anything you want to add to the podcast that, you know, you feel like you want people to know?
I want kids, and especially los jóvenes Latinos, that, I mean, we gotta demonstrate to everyone que somos capaces de mucho, like, especially as a community, like, and the kids now, when they say the kids are our future, they seriously are our future. So if they should keep pursuing education or whatever they want to go into, whatever you are passionate for, go for it.
It's great message. Again, it's CeloViews. I appreciate you making it possible on the podcast and having me here in your classroom. It's a very nice, well-put classroom. I'm so excited to see where you're gonna go from here. Best wishes to you, and CeloViews over there.
Thank you so much, Marcelo, for having me. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in also.
Alrighty then. Ahora, si no se ponen las pilas, it's on them.
Pónganse las pilas.